You know, Philip Zadina was always a very interesting player to me. He is one of those players that, well, yes, he did not constitute a, I believe, 6th overall pick. He's a player that you figure, well, he's young enough. Perhaps he just hasn't found his stride yet. Which is very fair. I mean, a lot of us in today's NHL, we expect a player to come around right away with no lag and just to be a top 6 forward within 1, 2, 3 years, and everybody progresses the exact same. Which I understand why people think that, because it is true that young players are making a much bigger impact than they ever have before. I mean, it's a young man's game these days. But Philip Zadina has not done that yet, but he has a lot of tantalizing options with how good he is, or how good he potentially could be. I guess it goes like this. When a player is always drafted this high, you always feel that, well, maybe if we get our hands on him, we could be able to get just a little bit more out of him. If you look up his statistics, he only has about 13 goals last year, but he shoots left, and I don't know why he wouldn't be able to play the left wing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So this is why I look at this as a pretty decent option, as long as you aren't expecting him to be a world beater. But hey, if he does, it is what it is. There was a report out that he signed a PTO with, I believe, Buffalo. I'm going to put the information up on the screen. But the way that I look at it is very simple. You need to sign this player if it makes sense, and at the end of the day, there is no negative to this as long as the contract makes sense. This is, or will be, his 3rd franchise. He was drafted by the Detroit Red Wings, and he played for the San Jose Sharks last year, and he only got 13 goals in about 73 games, I believe. I'll put the stats up on the screen. Now, to be fair, he played for a horrendous San Jose Sharks team. I mean, they are objectively just terrible in almost every way. So you figure, like, here's the thing. If he get a little bit of time with a Marner, with a Matthews, will that pump up his numbers, and could he look a lot more valuable? Absolutely. But then again, sometimes it's very difficult to even play with guys like that. So sticking a lesser player with top players doesn't necessarily always work out. Not only that, but with the drama with Nick Robertson absolutely refusing to sign with the Leafs, which is another story that I'm not going to get into because I want this video to be about Philip Zadina. It is a very strange situation here that a player like this could benefit from. I mean, think about it. Let's say he comes in, he scores, 22 goals, which I'm not sure if he would do that because he's only scored 10 or 13 in his career. But, let's think a little bit pie in the sky. He could really raise his value and get a contract, especially if he's doing it for the Leafs. It puts a little bit of a spotlight on that player. Like, we've seen a lot of players do this in their careers, where what they'll do is they'll kind of come to the Leafs, put a spotlight on them, they'll be able to get traded or something, or get that big contract next time, and it ends up working out for everybody. The Leafs get a player that outperforms their contract, which is exactly what the Leafs need, and the player gets a spotlight on them that they needed. Now, they didn't actually specify what specific team that this is that he is close signing with. I believe Kevin Weeks, I'll put the tweet up, said that he is within talks with 3 teams, but didn't exactly specify. But they said that the Leafs were percolating with left wing options. Now, you'll see that Philip Zadina is listed, I believe, as a right winger on HockeyDB, but he shoots left. So, like I said before, I can't imagine why he wouldn't be able to play the left side. I mean, it's just wing, so it's much easier than center, obviously. I do wonder, though, if the Leafs just possibly wanted to give maybe Nylander that opportunity to be able to get that left wing spot that the Leafs clearly have open. But we'll have to see. Remember, Alex Nylander only actually signed with the Marlies. And while Zadina didn't play that high up and he didn't have an unbelievable season at all for the Sharks, he was still able to play 70 games, right? Like, he was still able to actually be a decent player. Sometimes I look at these players and think to myself, okay, maybe they're not going to be top 6 guys, but if they recreate themselves, like a Zadina could recreate himself into a decent two-way forward that can penalty kill, coaches will love a guy like that. Maybe he scores 30 or 40 points, a really valuable third liner. Like, a lot of these players don't understand that if they're able to reinvent their game, they can be more valuable than ever before. A lot of coaches and teams and management do really value players like that, like third line, two-way guys on a decent bargain contract. Now, I'm not saying that right now that's what Zadina is, but if he could reinvent his game, he could be unbelievably valuable. But then sometimes you have these players that at lower levels, they were skill players, but unfortunately they haven't done that in the National Hockey League. So you're sitting here thinking, well, what exactly is this player going to be in the National Hockey League? Like, if he's not a top 6 guy, he's just a guy that doesn't have a defined role, and then that creates an issue on your team. Well, that guy doesn't have a defined role. He's almost a la Nick Robertson, right? Like, he can't really penalty kill. He's not that great two-way player. He doesn't win many battles, but man, he can shoot the puck, and you're like, okay, but you have to, if you're only an offensive guy, you need to be able to produce 70, 80 points, or at least 60, to be able to be a net value, because you're a negative on the other, qualities of hockey, right? But it is what it is. It's just because you're drafted in the top 10, there's a good chance that you're going to make the National Hockey League, but that doesn't always mean that you will, right? It just is what it is in this regard. It doesn't guarantee anything. Some guys, even you look at a player like Ryan O'Reilly, I mean, that guy is so good. But if you look back at his junior numbers, he really wasn't even that surprising of a player. He's a really good junior player, but like nothing spectacular. Drafted in the top 2nd round, and look at him now, right? The draft is honestly just so random. Anyways, I don't want to get up too much of a tangent on my draft takes. This video is supposed to be about Zadina. But honestly, either way, do I think Zadina is all of a sudden going to find his magic? Not really. Sometimes it's just really unfortunate. You get a player that, well, at lesser levels, he could do unbelievable things, but unfortunately at the NHL, they just never quite make it. And also, they never necessarily reinvent their game as good as they should, if you understand what I mean. Because a lot of these players, if they did do that, they would be able to be really good NHL players, because they have a lot of the tool sets that you need, but they only know how to do one thing. But either way, I am going to leave this video here. I want you guys to tell me what you think on this potential signing. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks for watching the video. Have a great night, guys.